Okay, here we go. Alright, please don't interrupt while we're doing this. If you feel you need to interrupt or something, get out.
And then we can come back in.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, beginning of sugya 1. Beginning of sugya 1. Daf nun hey amud base. Tana Rabbanon, our rabbis taught. Now we're going to talk about the fact that it says in the Mishnah that if you lock it up properly, then you are patur if the animal gets out and it causes damage. But if you do not lock it up properly, then you are chayv. So now the Gemara asked the obvious question. Tana Rabbanon, the rabbis asked. The rabbi said, "Eizel karoi, what is considered proper locking up? Eizel shaloi karoi, what's considered improper locking up?" Now the Gemara answers, if you have a gate or a fence that is strong enough to withstand a regular wind, then that's enough. We call this shemira pechusa. That's the minimum amount of guarding in order to be considered responsible. But if it's not strong enough to withstand regular wind, not even a regular wind, this is an improper locking up. This is not shemira at all. It is no good, and that's why you're chayiv. Now, the damage we're talking about is shein and regel. And shein and regel, as we learned in the first parak of Bava Kama, are muad damages. And now we're saying you only need shmir pechusa, a lower level of guarding for a muad. So now the Gemara asks, we're on line number 18, second one on the line. Rabbi Patish said, Mantana muad the sugya shmir pechusa. Who says that it's enough to have shmir pechusa for a muad? And now he answers, Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, it's Rabbi Yehuda. How do we know this? Because we learned in the Mishnah. Kushari ba'alav b'meisera. If an owner ties up his animal with a rope, and then locks it up properly, then it gets out and does damage. Echad tam ve'echad muad. Whether it's a tam or a muad, we're talking about shar. We're talking about goring damage here. If whether it's a tam or a muad, chayiv. You'll be chayiv. Different Rabbi Meir. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. That means Rabbi Meir says that if you lock it up karoi, it's not enough. You need to don't have to have shmir pechusa. You have to have shmir ma'ula, which is a higher level of guarding in order to be patur. We're in line 22. Rabbi Huda Omer, this Mishnah continues. Rabbi Huda says tam chayiv, muad patur. If it's a tam, then you'll be chayiv if it gets out. Muad patur, but it's a muad, then you're going to be patur if you have shmir pechusa. Shnemak, it says the pasuk of with regard to shar damage. It says, and you're chayiv in the case if the owner did not guard it at all. But this one is guarded. It's minimum guarding. It's shmir pechusa. It's still considered guarding, and therefore you will be patur. That's where we see here that Rabbi Yehuda says it's patur if you lock up a muad with shmir pechusa. Now, third opinion, Rabbi Eliezer says, Ein lo shmira elo sakim, or line 24, that the only way you can guard an animal, whether it's a tam or muad, from goring damage is if you kill it. In other words, even according to Rabbi Eliezer, even shmira me'ula is not good enough. You have to have, whatever happens, you'll be chayiv if the animal gets out. So the Gemara continues, it says, Afilu tamer man, no, not so fast. You can't compare this. In fact, even Rabbi Meir would agree that in our case, in our Mishnah, even Rabbi Meir would agree that shmir pechusa is enough. Even though in this Mishnah he says that you need shmir me'ula. Why is that? To Omer Rabbi Elazar, because Rabbi Elazar says, or Rabbi Elazar, Masti Satan said something that was told in the Mishnah, Arba Devarim. There are four things. There are four things that the Torah says it's good enough to have a lower level of guarding. What are these things? These are, we're on line 28. Bar va'esh shein v'regel. Pit, fire, eating damage, and trampling damage. So the case we just quoted with Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Meir is talking about goring damage. So taka, then you can have machlokes. Doesn't need shmir b'ula, shmir b'chusa, or any shmir is no good. But the Torah itself says that these four things we just discussed: fire, pit, eating, trampling, even shmir b'chusa is enough, even though they are mu'at. We're on line 29. How do we know this? So now the Gemara goes through the source of this. Bar dechsiv, a pit damage, you only need shmir b'chusa. How do we know? Because it said in the pasuk, ki yiftach ishbar, if a person opens up a pit, or ki yichra ishbar, or if a person digs a pit, v'lo yichasenu, and doesn't cover it. That's when you're chayiv, you don't cover the pit. Ha kisahu, the Gemara says, if you covered it, and that's shmir b'chusa, because you didn't get rid of the damaging thing, you just covered it over, potter, you'd be potter. So if you do nothing, you're chayiv. But if you even do the minimum amount, then you'll be potter. Now the Gemara goes on. So that's where we see bar. Eish, line 31, beginning of the line. Eish dechsiv, fire damage. We only need shmir b'chusa. How do we know? Because it says in the pasuk, shalim shalim aver sabeira. The person who lit the fire has to pay. So now the Gemara says on this pasuk, Ada avid ke'ein mavir. You're only chayiv if you behave like a fire starter, meaning you behave negligently with regard to the fire. But if you do shmir b'chusa and you take minimum precautions that is responsible, then you be potter. Now, shein dichsiv. When it comes to eating, what does it say in the pasuk? It says ubiya b'zdei and it ate in someone else's field. Ada avid ke'ein ubiya. So the Gemara says that you only chayiv if you behaved in a way that you caused your animal to be able to go in there. You were negligent. If you, however, took minimum precautions, shmir b'chusa, then you'll be potter. Line 34, beginning of line. Line 34, beginning of line. Regel. What about regel? What about trampling? Dichsiv says in the pasuk, v'shilach. With regard to trampling damage, what pasuk just says, v'shilach, and he will send. What does this teach us? It's yochayev if you behaved in a way like you said your animal. You didn't take any precautions. You just let it do whatever it wanted, and you took no precautions whatsoever. That's when yochayev. The pasuk saying, if you did shmir b'chusa, minimum guarding, then that's enough. Potter. Lost my place. Now. Line 35. So now, just to understand the wording, because it doesn't say explicitly about the eating and the trampling, so now the Gemara just explains the wording. So this is like a parenthetical point. V'tanya, we learn in the Brisa, v'shilach, when it says v'shilach, zeharegel, this is referring to trampling. How do we know? Because there's another part, we make it gzera shava, and it's another pasuk that has the same word. What does it say? It says, line 36, Meshachi regel ashava chamor. The one who sends the foot of the ox and the donkey. Now we see the same shorish, shin lamed ches here, and in our pasuk that we quoted, v'shilach, and that means that it must be talking about the same thing. It's talking about the foot trampling. Line 36, the end of the line, ubiyah zershein, and uviyah, when it says the word uviyah in the pasuk before that, how do we know it's referring to eating damage? Because it also says another pasuk, as the tooth destroys or consumes until it's gone. Meaning that it's use the word golo, tooth, means that when we see the sharish base ayin reish, it must be talking about eating damage. Time of the reason you're chayiv kasha David ke'ein v'shilach ubiyah is because you acted in a way that you allowed it to. You were negligent of the eating and trampling. But if you did not behave that way, if you did not behave negligently, you're not going to be chayiv. So that means shmir b'chusa is enough. Now the Gemara continues and just proves this from. If you look at proves it from our Mishnah. Line 39. Amar Rabba says, Masnisa nami daika. You can even learn this if you read the Mishnah carefully. You can see that it's talking about this. How do you know? The Ketonics, it says, the Ketonic soy, because it talks in our Mishnah about soy, sheep. Now, the previous parak was shosh shenagach, was talking about goring. So it's going from shar in the previous parak, and now it changes to tzayin, to sheep in our Mishnah. And sheep, the damage we talk about is trampling and eating, specifically. So now, line 40, we're in the middle. Michti, let's analyze this. Bashar Kaskin, on the previous parak we were talking about shar, about goring damage. V'astin, this shar, so it should come along and continue talking about shar, but be consistent. My shnar the katani tzai. Why does it? What's the difference now that it starts talking about tzai, about sheep damage? La bishum that Torah miyat b'shmirasai. Isn't it to teach us that the Torah says you can have less guarding for karoi, for sheep? La bishum the kan karen like ksiva bay. But Shem Regel Bay, because isn't it because it's not talking about goring damage now, it's talking about trampling and eating damage? Kavash Malan comes teach us Shem Regel and we learn from here that Shane and Regel are Muad, and Shemamina, we learn from here that they only need Shemira Pechusa. So we are talking saying it's not necessarily Rabbi Yehuda who says that you can only need Shemira Pechusa for Shane and Regel, even Rabbi Eliezer and even Rabbi Meir, because we have this whole business where the Torah allows you to have less guarding. And that's the end of Sugya 1.